This year, 2021, Sports Illustrated will be issuing out their new swimsuit edition here in a few days. And that edition will include a lot of different models with diverse backgrounds, ages, and body types. Some of those body types not exactly considered desirable for the modeling industry or to men in general. Now, the question is this actually a positive thing done for inclusion and body acceptance and good for women and their self-esteem? Or is this more of a demonstration of social media and media induced narcissism that plagues both men and especially women here in the West? So this is not just a red meat piece. It does apply to dating in the sexual marketplace. I do want to explore this cultural phenomenon of body acceptance and how it gets pushed by media and social media and woke culture, really rammed rather down our throats. And I want to, though, explore this in an objective way. I don't want this to be just a bloodbath where I degrade a bunch of women in swimsuits or where we slam on, the political left or woke or whatever. It's not really going to benefit you guys for me to do that. But I do want to explore the topic. I do think it's important, namely because a lot of you guys who consult with me and who talk to me and who watch my content have daughters. And you have to consider what your daughters are being exposed to by our media culture, right? And by different media outlets. And if that's even a good thing, that exposure. And also consider a lot of you guys are in the dating market. You're going to date women of different types. And if they're being indoctrinated by narcissistic ideas and behaviors through social media and media and through our current culture here in the West, well, you need to be aware of that and probably vet that stuff out so you're not dealing with somebody who has narcissistic, entitled tendencies. And for you women out there, women get pushed on this idea of zero accountability and entitlement, which is only going to make you alone and only going to serve you by ensuring that you stay alone and that you have a lot of cats in your old age. Okay, it's not necessarily conducive or good of meeting your goals in the dating marketplace. So we're going to go through an article by the Daily Mail, but let's kind of just look through this and we can see what I'm talking about here. All right, so we'll just kind of go through this article. You guys will be able to see a few of the pictures here that they're showing. And of course, you can do an internet search on some of the different models that they're showcasing. But it starts off with, is this Sports Illustrated's most inclusive runway show yet? Curvy models, including a personal chef and influencer, set pulses racing in Miami at annual swimwear showcase. Different bullet points. Sports Illustrated revealed several of this year's swimsuit issue models in March, the annual showcase last night in South Beach, Miami. The curvy models look sensational on the catwalk. All right. So you notice that there's a lot of language here where they're really cramming the idea of what you're supposed to accept for attractiveness down your throat. Now, attractiveness can be put to studies, and we know that there are genetic markers for attractiveness. Although, yes, there are individual preferences and certain people might prefer certain types of women over other types of women, and vice versa with women looking at men. There is a standard to it, is really what I mean to say. And it's something that boils down to genetic fitness. Now, what Sports Illustrated is trying to do here, and what this article is trying to do, and what all of woke culture, Hollywood, media sources, whatever you want to call it, is trying to do, is cram their standards down your throat. Whatever they say is okay whatever they say is appropriate for attractiveness is going to be crammed down your throat. And if you don't think it's attractive, then you must be a bad person or a misogynist or judgmental. And so you see, that's where this goes. If you don't think some older woman who doesn't look good in a bathing suit is hot, then you're a terrible person and a terrible man. That's kind of where they go with this stuff. All right. So we'll keep on reading. Sports Illustrated has shown a commitment to inclusivity by featuring a host of curvy models at its annual iconic fashion show. The magazine revealed several of this year's swimsuit issue models ahead of their official launch back in March, including a diverse cast of women of different ages, body types, and backgrounds. All right. So, anyways, they talk more about a different body types on display. So here's one model here. So then they named a bunch of the models, whatever. But now here's the thing about this. And we can kind of keep scrolling down and you can see, okay, here's a few more pictures here. We got these three here we'll pause on. All right, what do we got going on there? Okay. In fact, we'll pause on her. She's one you guys can look at while I talk. Well, what could we say that is positive about this? Let's look at a couple pros. So we're being a little bit objective here. The modeling industry can definitely open up, right, and include different ethnicities, right, or different, they all do that now, so they really don't need to do anything else. But let's think like maybe 50 years ago or something. Yeah, they could definitely open up some different ideas and standards and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong with showcasing different types of people, right? That's fine, all right? And certainly, we don't want to shame people for not looking good in a bathing suit. But there's a difference between not shaming others or being disrespectful to a woman because she's not in the best shape and showcasing her and displaying a woman and having her display herself as if she's reached some sort of achievement when she's really hasn't. I mean, you understand models and people in Hollywood, for example, and people have a certain look to them. They work on that stuff, all right? When you see a woman that looks good and hot in a bathing suit, some of it's youthfulness and all that and genetics, which is something that she's blessed with, and maybe we shouldn't take that away from her, right? But a woman who's, let's say, in her 30s or 40s, there's plenty of women in their 30s and 40s who go to the gym every day and take care of themselves, right? So when we don't have to shame someone, you know what I mean? I don't have to shame like this woman here for the way she looks in a bathing suit. But does that mean I have to display her on a runway or in a swimsuit model edition and cram it down your throats and tell her that she's beautiful? And if you don't agree that she's beautiful, then there's something wrong with you. You see, that's where we now cross into narcissism. Okay. We can review what narcissism actually means here in this case, but we'll read on a little bit. So, okay, a little bit about the model, and you can see right here in the photo. All right, honestly, I don't even think this bathing suit is flattering to her body. Okay, let alone should she even be up there in the first place? Right, is the question. And so we'll kind of continue. So she writes, "I started my modeling career late in life because I kept making excuses as to why I wasn't good enough. I hope I can show anyone out there who is scared or has reservations to just go for it. Amazing things can happen if you put yourself out there, and I'm proof of that." Oh, really though? Are you? You're an influencer, right, who got picked to be showcased in this diversity show that they're trying to put on so that they can virtue signal and get market share and get people to talk about it. So you got lucky in that sense, but what work did you do? So you mean to tell me that by making excuses for yourself and not trying to execute a career in modeling earlier, that you should be rewarded for that? Is that what you're trying to say? You see, my problem with a lot of this is an everybody gets a trophy kind of a mindset, isn't it? It's like, we don't need to put our ass on the line, try hard, work hard. we just sort of deserve to be on stage, don't we? Because I'm beautiful. And if you say anything else, then there's something wrong with you. I'm sure I'm a huge misogynist for doing this video. All right, we'll keep going. Okay, so you can see some more photos here. I'll slowly scroll through. Not exactly the ideal for what we would consider wanting in a swimsuit edition that was classically being put. Here's one for you. All right. So, I mean, is this something that we should be showcasing? Again, I'm not going to shame her if I see her at the beach. She might be a nice person. I don't know. But do we have to showcase people as if they are accomplished models and industry folks in a swimsuit edition, as if they've done something or made something of themselves? Do we have to showcase it and then shame everybody else if they don't agree? I guess that's the real question here. I keep wondering if this is how Gal Gadot felt when she received the news that she was going to be Wonder Woman. Or maybe this is the feeling Reese Witherspoon felt when she landed Legally Blonde. All right. Not that these actresses are going to agree with me, probably won't. But Gal Gadot and Reese Witherspoon are actresses that have been working on their craft for a very long time and Gal Gadot got worked to get picked for Wonder Woman. And she was selected amongst a lot of other women, and she worked on a skill to get there. Reese Witherspoon, same thing. These models are comparing themselves, models, I say in quotation, are comparing themselves to women who have accomplished something and put a lot of effort into something and achieved it against a lot of risk and odds. And these women really just got selected to walk up and down a runway and be in a swimsuit without having worked in the industry or put any effort into their bodies in a lot of cases at all. So, I mean, what are we really trying to say here, right? Oh, this is what we're trying to say. This is what she says. Whatever your dream, one of the quotes, right? Because there's different models they're interviewing. Whatever your dream goal is, know this: you can achieve anything. Spend your time wisely on what you want to make of your life. It took me a very, very long time to figure that out, and it's okay to take your time with it. Okay, so the problem here is, I'll see a few more photos here. Okay. The problem here is that is the biggest lie that women are being told in our society today. Women are being told that they have time. They can dick around and not, according to this, not move forward and try to achieve their goals with vigilance. And in the end, because of entitlement and female narcissistic entitlement, somebody's going to pick them up and then they make their dreams come true, right? In this case, Sports Illustrated. That's a real problem. It's a real problem with women today and how they approach the dating market, because they think that, and again, this is not all women, okay? But a lot of women who are being indoctrinated with these ideas through these displays of virtue signaling are being told, lied to, that they have all the time in the world, that they don't have to work on relationship skills and good people skills and emotional self-control and goals for themselves when they're younger. They can just screw around, party, have a good time, not go for their things, and then something will happen later for them. They have time. That 35-year-old woman who screwed up her past 2 relationships, has kids from 2 other guys, who knows? 40-year-old woman, divorced after making a bunch of bad choices and mate selection. She's got time, right? She can do anything she wants. Somebody's going to come in and give her swimsuit edition opportunity. See, this is the problem I have. I'm okay with inclusion, guys. Honestly, I'm not going to shame these women for what they look like in a bathing suit. That's not the point. I'm okay with, somebody, all these women here, someone hopefully will find them attractive, and somebody probably does, maybe, right? That's okay. All right. So it's not about that. But there's a standard for modeling, right? And a lot of women that I've known who have actually done modeling, they have to work on that standard. There's a genetic component, but then there's a physical standard that they have to meet and actually work on. Comparing yourself to actors and to a couple of actresses who had to take acting classes and go to auditions and fail and get blown out of auditions and get back to the drawing board and try different opportunities to finally get selected for their star role. I don't think that's the same story as somebody who is an influencer on YouTube or whatever, and then just sort of gets picked up to show herself in a bikini when she's done none of the work, right? So let's look at little criteria here. I don't know how to make this full screen, but you can just see it. I just did a search just to pop it for you guys. Narcissistic personality disorder has a grandiose sense of self-importance. Okay, so those quotes I read in that article sounds a bit like a grandiose sense of self-importance to me, right? People who are not actually accomplishing anything and should not be in an edition or issue of that was supposed to showcase the standard for swimsuit models. Like Sports Illustrated was noted as the modeling industry standard for a long time for what the industry was looking for in a bathing suit model. All right. And it was a very strict standard that women had to meet. And there were women, not just men, a part of these judging committees who were selecting these women, based on a certain standard of beauty. A lot of that's genetic, like I said, but a lot of that is something that had to be worked on, right? Dieted towards skincare. And then, of course, you have your poses, you have the way that you take photos, learning how to be photogenic. There's a lot of things that go into it. And I think that comparing yourself again to actresses and maybe accomplished women, right, that had to work at their stuff because Sports Illustrated or some media source wants to get a market share by being super woke, super inclusive, and wants to promote their brand that way. Yeah, look how virtuous we are by and how supporting of women we are. Picks a girl, just pick some woman that has a look or whatever that there's no real standard to it at all, and she's comparing herself to women who've accomplished a lot, different things, right? Is preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, ideal love, unlimited, success, beauty, preoccupied with fantasies. I mean, these women are literally living out a fantasy, thinking that, this is something that men are going to want. You know what I mean? They're not in general, right? I mean, somebody might. I'm not trying not to shame them. That's not the point. But it's the ideas that are being promoted. Believes that he or she is special and unique, right? And should be understood as such. Requires excessive admiration, a sense of entitlement. Number 5 on the DSM narcissistic personality disorder. All right. Unreasonable expectations, in parentheses, unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment. All right. Sense of entitlement. Okay. So, and there's other stuff in there, obviously, some other criteria, but that's just the main ones that this really hits on. And this goes back to the point that I'm making. All right, so my goal again is not to shame these women, tell them that they look terrible or they look bad in swimsuits. If I saw them on the beach, I wouldn't have anything to say about it. If a friend of mine was that guy's wife or, boyfriend or first date, client says I'm dating this girl and that's what she looks like in a swimsuit. Let's say she's a little heavier, whatever, a little older. Okay. I don't have anything negative to say about that. That's fine. I'm not saying these women even are ugly. I'm not even making a judgment on them, but they're certainly not what would be considered desirable by industry standards. We're not being honest or truthful with ourselves if we say that. They're certainly not these women who've accomplished something somehow to be featured in the swimsuit edition. They're being made examples of, rather. And so I don't know the answer. You guys are open, say in the comments what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong in this. All right. But here's my problem with it though, is that women in the West, and guys too, by the way, there are a lot of guys out there with a sense of entitlement, but the swimsuit edition is about women. So let's talk about women for a minute. Women in the West have a huge sense of entitlement, and it's being expressed, and you can see it coming through this cultural statement, right? This social pop culture statement. It comes through in that you don't have to actually work on anything. And someone's going to pick you up and you'll have your 15 minutes of fame or your time to shine, or you can achieve your dream. You don't have to put yourself at risk and work over a series of years because, later in life, it'll just happen for you if you just put your mind to it. You can have anything you want. Listen, understanding that you can have what you want and working towards goals and wanting a sense of achievement is fine. But as I read the diagnostic characteristics for narcissism, clinical cluster B personality disorder, narcissism, when these things are taken to extreme where they're not fitting with reality, then that's when they become delusional and self-absorbed. I'm sure my video probably is going to be popular enough to get picked up by major sources. But I'm sure if any of these women watched my video, a lot of them, not any, but a lot of them would have a lot of bad things to say about me, right? Because I'm not falling in line with the narrative that's being presented. That's narcissistic, understand? Now, how this applies to you, though, watching this, because who cares what the damn swimsuit edition has to say about it? Who cares what pop culture's doing? But here's the thing. Got to recognize this narrative that's getting pushed through so that you can talk to and communicate with your daughters differently, those of you guys who are dads. So that's the first thing. A lot of you guys are raising daughters. You need to see this stuff for what it is so you can have something to say about that, right? Because you don't want your 18, 19, 20-year-old daughter thinking she has all the time in the world to accomplish anything she wants. That's not the way you go about being successful, right? You go about being successful saying, man, I need to go out and try to accomplish these goals with a level of vigilance that nobody else has, because you don't get to achieve your dreams because you just want to, because that's entitlement. That's narcissism. You don't get to just achieve stuff because, that's just, I screwed around earlier in life, but I guess I'll do it today. It's not how it works. And a lot of these women in the dating marketplace, guess what? Men and women, dating and making a relationship work, being mentally and emotionally mature and functional and healthy, that's not easy, man. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it successfully. The fact of the matter is, most people are not. Almost 90% after the 8-year mark in a relationship are not doing it successfully, according to statistics. It's a real number, all right? 9 out of 10 relationships are failing. Well, close to 9 out of 10, really about 8.5 out of 10, okay, are failing after the 8-year mark. You don't have time. You don't get to screw around, do whatever you want. You guys in the dating marketplace too, you're dealing with these, you're going on different dates, different women. This is the influence they're getting from their culture and the story they're being told. And unfortunately, it's just not a true story. It's a cartoon. This is a hand-selected group of women that sit there and get to say, look at what I achieved because I got picked to be on the swimsuit cover. And they're not models. There are models out there that are working their butts off trying to make it in the industry and doing a lot of different things to make that stuff work. They just showed up and got lucky. And that is a small, minute, less than 1.0000, whatever it is, 1% of women that just got lucky and ended up on a swimsuit edition for no apparent reason, right? Because they fit some sort of criteria. All right. That's not an accomplishment. It's called luck. And women need to be out there thinking about making actual accomplishments and working hard and potentially failing a whole bunch. Actually, if you're going to be successful at anything, real success, not just this 15 minutes of fame on a cover or in a swimsuit edition, you got to work your ass off, and you're going to fail a lot in the process. And unfortunately, in our narcissistic culture, and this is what I mean now that you saw me read the characteristics, it's promoting this narcissism, and then that's going to show up in the dating market. These women are going to show up, not every woman. I'm hoping I do these videos not just for men. I hope, there may only be 1 or 2% of the population, or maybe less than that, but women will actually watch this and go, yeah, he's right, and I better take a different approach, okay? Because I want women to be happy too, because you guys, most of you guys are men that watch me, you're dating them, all right? So if you're going to be happy with who you're dating, I want them to be able to be happy, right? Makes sense? It's good for everybody. But unfortunately, these sorts of things promote a bit of failure. And I know there's good intentions behind it. The idea of not being judgmental of other people's bodies. That's a good idea. We don't need to be negatively judgmental, but that doesn't mean you have to date them. That doesn't mean you have to pretend like you're attracted to them if you're not. That doesn't mean you have to pretend like they look good if they don't, right? That doesn't mean they have to be, somebody who is maybe less than attractive we have to all pretend that she's amazing and beautiful while she's on a runway or in a photo. See, that's the narcissistic part. That's the delusional part. We can just not judge her, not shame her for how she looks. That would be, why can't we just do that? No. If we're not going the extreme other direction, then there's something wrong. Well, the problem is that's wrong, because people's genetic inclinations for what they think is attractive isn't going to change because a swimsuit edition says so, or because some woke ass companies out there say so. Society is not going to change because we are like that, because we're based in genetic drives, right? And what we think is attractive is based on mating drives that we've built for a couple 100,000 years. You cannot socially engineer your way out of it. And to ignore that by trying to socially engineer our way out of it is only going to be harmful to women and harmful to men in the dating market. All right. Weak ass men will jump on the woke narrative and say everyone's beautiful in hopes that they can get someone to like them. And of course, women aren't going to like them because that's genetically, that's instinctually unattractive. All right. And women are not going to put the effort in like they should. Not every woman, but a lot of them are going to think this entitlement idea. Now, nobody is going to look at this and then directly correlate it. This is just one small example, but you have this example repeated over and over and over again in our culture. And then the end result is you have these women that are just completely entitled. Want a fun little experiment? Women in the West don't even realize what they're up against. Go to Czech Republic, go to Poland, go to some places in South America. Women are feminine down there. They act differently, and they understand that they have to bring those qualities to the table, including taking care of their bodies and taking care of how they look. If they expect to have a good relationship with a man, if they expect to have a man that meets their checklist, they know they have to show up and be what that man would want. A lot of women culturally understand that in other places of the world. Women in the West, by and large, don't get that. And they show up entitled, bitchy, masculine, and these sorts of things are indicative of that. They promote that. I would say these things are a result of it, and then in turn continue to promote it. It's crabs in a bucket, everyone pulling themselves to a lower standard, right? So in conclusion, all right, men, beware of women who latch onto this stuff and think it's wonderful and great and amazing, because whether they're consciously doing it or not, they're jumping onto an entitlement narrative. And chances are their own personal values are going to be very entitled as well. And if you have an entitled woman in your life, you're never going to have a good relationship with that woman, period. Be aware and look for women who challenge this stuff, all right? Who look at these things and say, I don't know about that. Question those things. That's a green flag. If a woman is sort of, what the hell, why are they showcasing these women on this swimsuit, in the swimsuit magazine instead of models? If they're asking that question of themselves and a little bit confused and kind of disturbed by it, that's indicative of someone who doesn't have an entitlement mentality. That is a green flag. That's a potentially good partner for a long-term dating or potential relationship. And women who don't question this kind of stuff, now that's a red flag. All right. Thanks again for the support.